Breaking news: China has just announced sanctions against 28 U.S. companies, targeting some of the most influential names in the defense and aerospace industries. This move marks a significant escalation in the ongoing U.S.-China rivalry. What could this mean for the global economy, and how might it reshape the balance of power between these two superpowers? Driving this decision is a battle for technological and economic supremacy. These sanctions are not just about punishing individual companies, they're a bold statement in a high-stakes game of global influence. The stakes couldn't be higher. Geopolitical tensions are reaching new heights, economic stability is on the line, and global security hangs in the balance. So, what's driving China's move, and how will it impact the world? Welcome to Elite Global Watch, where we simplify the complex and reveal the hidden. Let's dive into this breaking story. What happened? China has dropped a bombshell on the global stage, announcing sanctions against 28 U.S. companies. Among the targeted firms are industry giants like General Dynamics, Boeing Defense, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon Missiles and Defense, names synonymous with America's defense and aerospace dominance. The Chinese government has labeled these sanctions a necessary move to safeguard its national security and interests. The decision comes as a direct response to what Beijing describes as increasing interference by U.S. entities in its domestic and international affairs. These sanctions are not just symbolic. Effective immediately, China has banned the export of critical dual-use items to these companies. These are materials and technologies that serve both civilian and military purposes, components vital to manufacturing everything from advanced weapon systems to cutting-edge electronics. For the sanctioned companies, this is more than a slap on the wrist, it's a direct hit to their global supply chains. Without access to key materials from China, production timelines and profitability could be at serious risk. This move not only escalates tensions between Washington and Beijing but also raises critical questions about the future of international trade and security. Why now? This latest move by China comes at a time of rapidly escalating tensions between the world's two largest economies. For years, the U.S. has been tightening restrictions on Chinese companies, citing national security concerns. Remember the U.S. bans and scrutiny of Huawei and TikTok? These actions weren't just about technology, they were about control over data, communications, and the global tech infrastructure. To Beijing, these moves have always been seen as attempts to curb China's rise on the world stage. In response, China hasn't been sitting quietly. Just a few months ago, it imposed its own restrictions on the export of gallium and germanium, two critical minerals used in semiconductors, renewable energy, and military technologies. These actions sent shockwaves through global industries, highlighting China's leverage in the tech supply chain. So, why now? Analysts speculate that these latest sanctions are a calculated move. For one, they could be a retaliation against years of U.S. sanctions and restrictions. But there's more to the story. This could also be China's way of signaling strength, showing the world, and especially Washington, that it won't hesitate to take decisive action to protect its interests. And let's not forget the economic angle. By targeting key U.S. defense and aerospace firms, Beijing may also be leveraging its economic influence to create strategic advantages in future negotiations. Whatever the motive, one thing is clear. This is not just about individual companies, it's about the shifting dynamics of global power. Global implications: the ripple effects of China's sanctions on 28 U.S. companies are already being felt. For the affected firms, this isn't just a political move, it's a direct hit to their global operations. Impact on the sanctioned U.S. companies. For giants like Lockheed Martin and Boeing Defense, losing access to critical materials from China could disrupt supply chains, delay projects, and drive up costs. These sanctions don't just threaten profitability, they challenge the stability of their entire operations. Industry experts warn that the financial losses could be staggering, with these firms now scrambling to source alternatives in an already strained global supply chain. Effect on U.S.-China relations. This move is yet another blow to already strained relations between the U.S. and China. With both nations imposing restrictions and sanctions, the hope for constructive dialogue is fading fast. The stakes for diplomacy have never been higher, but trust continues to erode on both sides. And it's not just about economics. The growing hostility risks spilling over into other areas, including cybersecurity and military strategy, raising concerns about global stability. Broader consequences. The implications go beyond these 28 companies. Global trade alliances are being tested, and supply chain stability already fragile due to recent disruptions faces even greater uncertainty. As companies reevaluate their supply chains and nations rethink their trade policies, the ripple effects could reshape the global economy, potentially driving up costs for everything from electronics to defense systems. This isn't just a challenge for the US or China, it's a test for the entire global economic system. From financial losses to strained diplomacy and economic upheaval, the implications of this decision are vast. The question now is how the world will adapt to this growing rift between two superpowers. What's next? With tensions between the US and China escalating to new heights, the big question is, what happens next? Let's explore the potential responses, the long-term implications, and whether this marks the beginning of a new phase in this global rivalry. How might the US respond? The US has several options on the table. Countermeasures could range from imposing new sanctions on Chinese companies to tightening export controls on advanced technologies. This could escalate into a full-blown trade war, with both sides taking increasingly aggressive steps to outmaneuver the other. However, there's also the possibility of a more measured approach. Diplomatic efforts could aim to de-escalate tensions, though finding common ground seems increasingly difficult. Long-term outlook on US-China relations. In the long term, the outlook remains uncertain. Will this rivalry lead to a prolonged economic Cold War, with nations around the world forced to pick sides? Or could we see a shift toward uneasy coexistence, where both superpowers compete but avoid outright confrontation? The world is watching closely. For global trade, this could mean a reevaluation of supply chains, increased regional partnerships, and a move toward greater self-reliance among nations. A new phase in the rivalry? This latest move by China feels like more than just retaliation. It could signal the start of a new phase in the US-China rivalry. A phase defined not just by economic competition, but by a battle for influence in shaping the global order itself. One thing is certain, this rivalry isn't just about two nations, it's about the future of global power. And the stakes couldn't be higher. In conclusion, today, we've unpacked the breaking news of China's sanctions against 28 US companies, targeting giants like Boeing Defense, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon. We've explored how these sanctions could disrupt supply chains, strain US-China relations, and send shockwaves through the global economy. This is more than just a trade dispute, it's a defining moment in the escalating rivalry between the world's two largest economies. The implications aren't just economic, they're about influence, security, and the future of global power. The US-China rivalry isn't just about two nations, it's about the direction the world takes in the decades to come. What do you think these sanctions mean for the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Elite Global Watch for more updates and deep dives into the events shaping our world. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.